You didn't just lose them. Destiny took them away. And the moment you truly understand that, everything about your life will look different. I know it hurts. You replay every word, every memory, trying to figure out where it all went wrong. You ask yourself if you were too much or not enough. Maybe you cared too deeply. Maybe if you had just held on tighter, they wouldn't have slipped away. But here's the truth. They were never meant to stay. What you saw as abandonment, destiny saw as protection. What felt like rejection was actually redirection. Destiny saw what you couldn't. It saw their hidden motives, their masks, their quiet manipulation long before you noticed. It saw how their presence was slowly stealing your purpose, dimming your light, and breaking your spirit piece by piece. And when you refused to let go, destiny stepped in. That wasn't cruelty, that was mercy. Because sometimes destiny's love doesn't come to comfort, it comes to cleanse. And I know that in the moment it doesn't feel divine. It feels like betrayal. It feels like grief. It feels like silence so loud it shakes your soul. But that silence is sacred. It's the sound of something greater protecting you. It's destiny closing a door you kept trying to force open. You begged for things to be fixed, but destiny chose to free you instead, because it knew you never would. And yes, grief will come. You'll cry for people who never cried for you. You'll wonder why the ones you loved the most could walk away so easily. But one day, when the fog clears, you'll see what destiny already knew. They weren't your blessing. They were your burden. Destiny doesn't remove people without a reason. It clears away what confuses you. It ends what endangers you. It breaks down what must be rebuilt. This pain you feel now, it isn't punishment. It's purification. Because before destiny can lift you higher, it must first lift away what's holding you down. So stop calling it loss. Call it alignment. They didn't walk away. You were released. When life suddenly rips someone from your hands, it doesn't feel holy. It feels cruel. It feels personal, as if destiny turned its back and left you drowning in the silence they left behind. You sit in the emptiness asking why. Why this much pain? Why this much loss? Why the one who mattered most? But maybe the pain isn't proof of punishment. Maybe it's proof of preparation. Pain isn't always the enemy. Sometimes it's the only language destiny can use to wake you up. Because when life gets too easy, you stop listening. You stop growing. You stop realizing how tightly you've been clinging to what was never meant to stay. The Stoics called it amor fati, the love of fate. To love not only what's pleasant, but what's necessary. To look at loss and say, even this serves me. It doesn't mean it won't hurt. Pain is part of the cleansing. It burns away illusion, ego, and attachment, everything that keeps you from seeing clearly. When destiny removes someone from your life, it isn't taking from you. It's clearing space for what's real, space for peace, space for purpose, space for truth. But at first, it won't feel like that. At first, it feels like death. You'll wake up wanting to reach for their name, scroll through old messages like sacred relics from a happier time. You'll go over every conversation, looking for the exact moment things broke. But the truth is, it didn't break. It ended when it was supposed to. Not every connection is meant to last forever. Some souls enter your life as lessons, not lifetimes. They come to show you what love isn't, so that one day you'll recognize what love truly is. And when that day comes, you'll thank destiny for every unanswered prayer, every closed door, every person who disappeared without warning. Because each one was protection wearing the mask of loss. The Stoics believed that what is truly good can never be taken from a virtuous heart. What's meant for you can't be stolen, only replaced by something truer. So if it's gone, let it go. If it left, let it leave. If it ended, bow to it and walk forward. Because what you've been calling punishment was actually protection. That relationship, that friendship, that attachment, it was poisoning your path. And destiny, in its mercy, refused to let it destroy you slowly. So it tore it away, because you wouldn't. It let you break, so you could finally rebuild without what was breaking you. It knew you'd never leave on your own, so it walked them out for you. That's not cruelty. That's divine compassion, the kind that saves your soul, not your comfort. So change the way you see this. Your pain isn't a life sentence, it's surgery, the kind that cuts deep, bleeds hard, and hurts like hell, but saves your life in the end. Because destiny doesn't destroy, it refines. The same fire that feels like it's burning you alive is actually burning away what cannot follow you forward. You didn't fail. You simply outgrew what was no longer right for you. So breathe. This pain isn't here to punish you. It's here to prepare you. And soon, you'll look back and realize that what you once called loss was actually the first act of protection. You keep calling it abandonment. But what if it was deliverance? What if destiny didn't just let them leave? What if it sent them away because you asked for peace? You prayed for clarity. You begged for truth. You said, "Destiny, show me what's real." And it did. You just didn't like the answer. We often ask for blessings, but rarely for cleansing. And when destiny starts removing the unclean, the false ties, the empty promises, the illusions, we mistake it for betrayal. But how can it be betrayal if it's saving you? They didn't walk away because you weren't enough. They left because they had already taken everything they came for. Your love, your time, your loyalty. They were never there to build. They came to feed. And destiny saw it. It saw how you dimmed your light to make them comfortable in your glow. How your kindness turned into exhaustion. How you tried to breathe life into something already dead. You called it loyalty. Destiny called it self-destruction. So it intervened. Because sometimes the kindest thing destiny can do is separate you. Destiny will end what you're too afraid to walk away from. It will tear down what you keep trying to fix. It will let betrayal happen, not to destroy you, but to wake you up. That's the truth behind their leaving. It wasn't random. It was divine timing. Destiny doesn't expose people to shame you. It reveals them to free you. It removes them because their part in your story is over. And if it hadn't closed that door, you'd still be there, knocking, begging to re-enter your own pain. The Stoics taught that everything, when seen with clear eyes, serves your growth. The betrayal, the silence, the goodbye. All of it belongs to a greater plan, shaping you into who you were meant to be. Fate isn't cruel, it's corrective. It moves your life around to bring you back to your true path. Think about it. You asked for peace, but peace can't exist where poison lives. You prayed for strength, but strength doesn't grow in comfort. You begged for truth, but truth always costs you something. So when they left, it wasn't destiny punishing you, it was answering your prayer. It just didn't look the way you hoped. Because sometimes the only way destiny can show you someone's true nature is by removing them completely. While they're close, their presence blinds you. But once they're gone, the illusion breaks, and the truth stands. That truth will hurt. It will cut deep, but it will also clean the wound. You didn't lose your soulmate. You lost your distraction. You didn't lose your way. You shed what was blocking it. Destiny saw what you refused to see, and that's why they had to go. It saw the truth in their heart when you only saw the charm in their smile. It saw their manipulation when you mistook it for love. It watched you shrink yourself to fit inside their comfort. So it removed them. Not because you weren't enough, but because you were chosen for more. chosen for clarity, chosen for growth, chosen for something sacred that couldn't survive in their chaos. That's the real reason they disappeared. It wasn't rejection, it was redirection. They left so your soul could finally breathe again. They walked away so your destiny could walk in. You saw love, destiny saw deception. You saw loyalty, destiny saw self-interest. You saw a shared future, destiny saw a trap. That's why it stepped in. Because sometimes your physical eyes are blind to what your spirit already knows. You were guided by emotion, by memory, by comfort. But destiny knew, if it didn't take them away, they would destroy the peace you prayed for. It saw everything you couldn't, the hidden motives, the quiet resentment, the decay behind their smile. It saw how every "I love you" came with a condition, how every promise came with fine print, how their presence was draining your purpose. You believed they were a blessing. Destiny knew they were a burden disguised as one. You wanted connection. They wanted control. And the hardest part, you wouldn't have believed the truth, even if it had been whispered to you. So instead of whispering, destiny revealed it. Not through words, but through endings. Sometimes destiny doesn't speak aloud. It speaks through absence, through silence, through distance. You thought you were being abandoned, but you were being protected. You thought you were forgotten, but you were being redirected. You thought your prayers were ignored, but they were being answered in a language your heart hadn't yet learned. That's what true vision looks like. Protection disguised as heartbreak. The Stoics understood this kind of sight. They called it reason, the ability to see not what you want, but what is. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Destiny saw your mind tangled in emotion, desperate to belong. So it cut the cord before it choked your spirit, because it cared too much to watch you live on crumbs. It saw how their energy dimmed your flame, how you shrank yourself to fit inside their insecurities, how you poured everything into them and always came back empty. It saw you crying for peace at night and waking up to the same chaos each morning. So it did the only thing left to do. It removed them. And yes, it felt cruel, because sacred surgery always does. It broke your heart to save your soul. It took away what you wanted to give you what you needed. That wasn't rejection. That was transformation. When destiny saw what you couldn't, it didn't ask your permission. It acted for your protection. Because when your heart is too loyal to let go, destiny teaches through loss. It heals through silence. It frees through distance. So don't curse the separation. Don't hate the quiet. Don't grieve what was never meant to carry you higher. Destiny saw everything, the lies, the manipulation, the misaligned energy, and said, enough. Not because you were unworthy, but because you were marked for something greater, marked to see what destiny had seen, marked to rise beyond what once held you down, marked to finally live free. So next time you wonder why they were taken, remember this: it wasn't to hurt you, it was to heal you. Because what you couldn't see was destroying you, and what destiny saw was your salvation. Letting go isn't the end of love. It's the beginning of clarity. It's when your faith becomes strong enough to say, if it costs my peace, it's not meant for me. When you release what hurts you, you make room for what will heal you. That's what sacred detachment really means. It isn't coldness. It isn't indifference. It's truth covered in trust. Sometimes destiny doesn't build walls to protect you. It creates space. It gives you silence. It ends what you were too afraid to end. You thought you were holding on out of love. But what if that love was slowly bleeding you dry? What if destiny wasn't punishing you? It was preparing you. It saw how your peace was collapsing just to keep a connection alive. It saw your energy bleeding into people who only came to take. It saw how you confused pain with loyalty. And when you wouldn't stop giving, destiny made sure you'd stop receiving. That's sacred detachment, when fate steps in to save you from yourself. The Stoics knew this long before we had the words. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only goal worth chasing in life, and it's found by letting go of what we cannot control." That's exactly what destiny does. It frees you from what you refuse to release. Even when you pray to keep it, destiny removes what your heart is too tangled in to let go. Because destiny sees what you can't. This isn't alignment, it's attachment. And attachment is the enemy of faith. Faith whispers, "Even if it leaves me, I'll still stand." Attachment screams, "Without it, I can't survive." And destiny will always choose your freedom over your comfort. That's why it closes doors you keep knocking on. That's why it ends the relationships you keep glorifying. That's why it creates distance between you and the ones you swear you can't live without. Because you haven't seen the poison yet, but destiny already has. And when destiny pulls them away, you'll feel the ache. You'll confuse detachment for rejection. You'll mistake peace for emptiness. Because after living so long inside chaos, calm feels like loss. But give it time. Stillness isn't loneliness. It's the beginning of rediscovery. It's you meeting yourself again after years of noise. That's the beauty of sacred separation. It brings you home to yourself. It teaches you how to love without losing your center, how to care deeply without collapsing, how to stay open without being consumed. Because peace doesn't mean nothing affects you. It means nothing controls you. Destiny's protection doesn't always look like comfort. Sometimes it looks like distance. Sometimes it's the message that never came, the door that never reopened, the apology that never arrived. And that's okay. Because the silence that follows a loss isn't rejection, it's redirection. So stop asking why they left. Start being grateful they couldn't stay. If their absence brought peace, then their presence was never love. It was a lesson. This is where the Stoic path and the spiritual path meet, where you learn that letting go isn't defeat, it's trust. Detachment isn't the death of love, it's its purification. It's love stripped of obsession and fear. The kind of love that doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't panic. It releases, because it trusts that what's real will remain. That's what sacred detachment means. That's how destiny protects those it chooses, not by giving them comfort, but by removing everything that blocks their peace. You thought it was love. That's why you held on so tightly. That's why you cried for them, begged for one more chance, even while your soul whispered that it was killing you. But real love doesn't choke you. It doesn't silence your joy, drain your energy, or make you question your worth. That wasn't love. It was slow poison, and destiny saw it long before you did. You called it loyalty. Destiny called it self-destruction. You called it a bond. Destiny called it a cage. You called them your soulmate. Destiny called it suffocation. They didn't love you. They used you. They fed on your kindness. They mistook your patience for weakness. They treated your silence like permission. They never saw your value, only your vulnerability. They weren't your reflection, they were your disguise. And every time you tried to walk away, they pulled you back. Not because they cared, but because your light filled the emptiness they refused to face in themselves. That wasn't love. That was dependency wearing the mask of devotion. Love, true love, the kind destiny intends, lifts you. It doesn't trap you. It waters your soul, not drains it dry. It speaks peace, not pain. But you forgot that. You started confusing being needed with being valued. You mistook being chosen with being cherished. So destiny stepped in. It saw your prayers turning into begging. It saw you worshipping people who only wanted attention, not connection. It watched you mistake their chaos for passion and their cruelty for misunderstanding. So destiny tore it apart, not to punish you, but to purify you. It ended what you called love, because it knew it was destroying the love meant to grow inside you. That love, the one meant for yourself, your purpose, your future. The Stoics said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And you were living in an illusion, holding on to the fantasy of who they could be instead of accepting who they were. You fell in love with potential, not truth. And destiny knew only truth could free you. That's why it let the illusion burn down. That's why it let you see them clearly, cold, selfish, indifferent. Because it needed to wake you up, to remind you that love without respect is manipulation, and love without peace is imprisonment. You thought destiny took your joy, but it actually took your poison. And yes, detox hurts. Letting go of toxic love feels like dying. But it isn't death, it's rebirth. It's your soul learning to breathe again without addiction to pain. Destiny saw how much you gave to people who only took. It saw you bleeding for those who never stayed to help you heal. So it ended the cycle. It stopped them. And now, here you are, confused, hurting, but free. It might not feel like freedom yet, because your heart still craves what broke it. That's how strong the dependency was. But soon, that craving will fade. The fog will lift. Your heart will see clearly again. One day, you'll look back and realize what you thought was love was really a teacher. A lesson on how to protect your energy, how to honor your peace, and how to recognize what's real. And when that day comes, you'll thank destiny for the heartbreak. Because it wasn't rejection, it was rescue. It wasn't punishment, it was protection. It didn't break your heart, it cleansed it. Destiny took away what you thought you couldn't live without, so you could finally remember what you truly deserve. That's the raw truth. What you lost wasn't love. It was poison disguised as comfort, the slow venom you kept drinking until destiny, in mercy, knocked the cup from your hands. Every loss carries a message, but most people never hear it. They're too busy mourning what vanished instead of listening to what was revealed. You've spent nights without sleep, replaying every memory, wondering what you could have done differently. You've doubted your worth, your timing, even your faith in yourself. But maybe this moment isn't about what left. It's about what was meant to awaken within you. Destiny doesn't waste pain. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every prayer left unanswered carries a sacred instruction. Destiny teaches through absence, through silence, through endings that wound deeper than words can reach. Because sometimes the only thing powerful enough to wake a sleeping soul is the shock of losing what it thought it needed to survive. The Stoics knew this well. Seneca wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Loss is friction. It scrapes away what's false, fragile, and fake, until only the real remains. What's left is truth. The truth of who you are, the truth of what you've accepted for too long, the truth of how you've allowed what never deserved you. That's the hidden gift. What walked away was never meant to stay. What lingered too long was blocking your growth. You asked for strength, so destiny gave you struggle. You asked for wisdom, so it sent pain. You asked for clarity, so it removed confusion, often in the shape of people. Because clarity doesn't always come with comfort. It often arrives disguised as emptiness. It comes when the noise fades, when the faces vanish, when the conversations stop. That's when you finally hear the one voice that matters, your own. You call it loneliness. But what if it isn't emptiness at all? What if it's alignment, destiny clearing the static so you can finally meet yourself again? This is where transformation begins. When you finally learn to separate what hurts from what harms. Pain can heal you. Harm only drains you. Destiny allows pain when it serves a purpose, but never destruction without redemption. That's why your loss didn't ruin you. It rebuilt you. It taught you boundaries. It sharpened your discernment. It showed you how to stop chasing what bleeds you dry and start protecting what nourishes your soul. The Stoics called this self-mastery, the art of ruling your emotions instead of being ruled by them. Because every time you choose peace over reaction, you take back your power. You realize that loss isn't the opposite of love. It's the teacher of it. It's how you learn the difference between gripping and trusting, between craving and choosing. Look at how far you've come. You thought the pain would destroy you, but it shaped you. You thought their absence would hollow you, but it healed you. You thought you'd never smile again, and yet, here you are. Because real strength isn't born in ease, it's forged in surrender. In letting go of what you wanted and trusting that what's ahead will make sense in time. That's the paradox. The same thing that shattered you also shaped you. The pain that brought you to your knees became the soil where your wisdom grew. So stop asking, why did this happen to me? Start asking, what was this meant to teach me? When you find that answer, you'll understand. This loss was never punishment. It was preparation. It was the sacred training ground for your next chapter. Because destiny never removes without purpose. It never subtracts without the intent to multiply. Pain has a purpose. It's the toll you pay for truth. And truth, real, soul-deep truth, is never cheap. You prayed for clarity, didn't you? You asked destiny to show you what's real, about love, about people, about your path. And it did. But it didn't come softly. It came through pain, because pain is the only language the heart truly listens to. When life feels too easy, you stay asleep. But when you break, you finally see. The Stoics said it best. Epictetus taught, it's not the events that harm us, but our judgment of them. Pain itself doesn't destroy you. Your resistance to it does. That's why destiny allows collapse. Not to punish you, but to purify you, to tear down the illusions you clung to clear space for the truth you've been afraid to face. Clarity demands sacrifice. That's the part no one warns you about. You can't see the truth and keep your fantasy. You can't gain wisdom and still live blind. You can't walk in peace while clutching poison. Destiny knew that. So it allowed the breaking, not to wound you, but to wake you. Destiny watched you keep loving the ones who drained you. It saw you begging for signs while ignoring the truth already shining in front of you. It watched you defend people who kept wounding you, mistaking suffering for loyalty. And when you refused to let go, destiny let pain teach you what peace never could. That wasn't punishment. It was refinement. The kind of transformation that burns away weakness and polishes the soul in fire. Because nothing purifies the spirit like struggle. Nothing sharpens the heart like heartbreak. Pain has its own strange brilliance. It burns through illusion. It forces you to see people not as you wish they were, but as they truly are. And it humbles you to face the truth, that what you once called love might have been attachment. And what you called loyalty might have been fear of being alone. It hurts deeply, but it's honest. And honesty is the first step toward freedom. The Stoics taught us to love our fate, not because it's easy, but because it's essential. Amor fati, to embrace everything that happens, even the hard things, because hidden inside them is transformation. So when destiny lets you taste the sting of loss, it's not cruelty, it's correction, it's alignment. It's teaching you to stop reaching for the blade that cuts you. It's helping you recognize peace by contrast. Because you can't truly value light until you've lived in the dark. Pain is divine surgery. It removes what your eyes can't see. It takes away what your heart would never release on its own. And though it feels unbearable now, one day you'll realize it didn't destroy you. It purified you. It didn't end you. It initiated you. It turned you from someone who needed others to feel whole into someone who can stand alone, steady, wise, complete. That's the price of clarity. And every tear you shed pays for it in full. Because clarity brings freedom. Freedom from false love. Freedom from false belonging. Freedom to live in truth, even when that truth feels lonely. So when your chest aches, when nights grow heavy, when you whisper, "Why did destiny let it hurt this much?" Remember, it's not tearing you apart, it's separating what was never meant to stay. Pain isn't your enemy, it's the doorway. The only road that leads to wisdom always runs through suffering. You thought you were abandoned. You thought that when they walked away, destiny walked away too. You thought it turned its back and left you broken in the ruins. But the truth is, destiny never left. It was there the whole time, silent, still, fiercely present. It wasn't ignoring you. It was shielding you in ways you couldn't yet see. When destiny prepares to move you into your next chapter, it doesn't always send gifts. Sometimes it sends endings. And those endings often disguise themselves as emptiness. That hollow feeling in your chest. It isn't destiny leaving. It's destiny making space. It took them away, not because you lacked worth, but because they lacked readiness. They couldn't carry the weight of your purpose. They weren't strong enough to walk beside you where you were meant to go. And if they had stayed, you would have stayed small, still trying to earn love from people who were never meant to give it. The Stoics were right. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Most of your pain didn't come from the loss itself. It came from what you believed it meant. You thought being left meant you weren't enough. That silence meant you were forgotten. That emptiness meant you were unloved. But none of that was true. The silence wasn't rejection. It was sacred communication. The emptiness wasn't punishment. It was preparation. The distance wasn't abandonment. It was alignment. You weren't being destroyed. You were being repositioned, even when you thought you were being broken beyond repair. Think about it. If they hadn't gone, you'd still be watering dead roots. If they hadn't betrayed you, you'd still be giving your loyalty to those who saw you as disposable. If they hadn't ignored you, you'd still be chasing approval instead of guarding your peace. Destiny's silence was never absence, it was disguise. It hid its hand so you could find your own power. It withheld its voice so you could learn to trust your own. Because the kind of strength it was building in you couldn't be born in comfort. It had to be forged in solitude. That's why the quiet hurt so much, because it was sacred. Those silent hours weren't empty, they were holy. That's where you learned to stand on your own, to stop praying for people and start praying for peace. To understand that the only approval that truly matters is the one that comes from within. The Stoic in you calls that self-mastery. The believer in you calls it faith. But they mean the same thing. Trusting what you can't yet see, knowing that even in ruin, you're still being guided. You were never abandoned, you were protected. Hidden from those who couldn't honor your heart. Guarded from paths that would have destroyed your spirit. You thought you were buried, but destiny was planting you. It used silence to build your discipline. It used isolation to grow your wisdom. It used pain to shape your purpose. And now, as you begin to rise, you'll see the truth. Every unanswered prayer was destiny's way of saying, "Trust me, not them." Stop calling it loneliness. Start calling it preparation. You were never left behind. You were set apart. Everything begins inside you. The healing, the peace, the strength you've been chasing. It was never out there. It's been waiting quietly within, waiting for stillness to bring it to the surface. You've spent so long trying to rebuild your world around people, around what you lost, around the image of who you used to be. But you can't rebuild on ashes. You have to rebuild on truth. And here's the truth. What left didn't destroy you. It revealed you. It showed you where the cracks were, where you gave your worth away, where you depended on people who were never meant to carry you. That's where the rebuilding begins, in the places where you once broke. The Stoics taught that we must build an inner fortress, a place of calm, reason, and discipline, a sanctuary no chaos, betrayal, or heartbreak can touch. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is your moment, the turning point. The moment you stop reaching for what's gone and start nurturing what remains, your mind, your focus, your peace. Because the version of you that's emerging now wasn't shaped by ease. It was forged in the fire. You've endured storms. You've tasted betrayal. You've heard the sound of absence and felt the weight of silence. And still, you're here. That alone is proof of your strength. That alone shows that loss cannot destroy what's rooted in purpose. Now it's time to rebuild, but differently. This time, you build with boundaries, not desperation. With peace, not people-pleasing. With self-respect, not self-sacrifice. You stop explaining yourself to those who never cared to understand. You stop begging for closure from those who gave you confusion. You stop chasing affection in places that only ever demanded control. Instead, you turn inward. You create a sanctuary within yourself, so unshakable that no outside storm can touch it. Because when your peace no longer depends on anyone's presence, you've found freedom. When your worth no longer needs validation, you've found mastery. And when your happiness no longer relies on things or people, but rises naturally from who you've become, that's the evolution of the soul. Destiny didn't remove them to leave you empty. It cleared the ground so you could build something lasting. You're not rebuilding to return to who you were. You're rising into who you were always meant to be. Soon, you'll notice the change. Solitude will stop feeling heavy. Silence will start to feel sacred. Peace will become your normal, not chaos. That's how you'll know you've rebuilt right, when your inner world becomes unshakable. And here comes the paradox, the miracle, the full circle. You'll stop yearning for what you once thought you needed. You'll stop missing the noise and start honoring the quiet. You'll stop searching for closure because you'll finally realize closure was never out there. It's always been inside you. This is what destiny wanted you to understand all along. That everything you kept chasing in others was already waiting to be found within yourself. So don't rebuild from memory. Rebuild from meaning. Not out of fear, but out of faith. Because once your inner world stands whole, the outer world will rise to match it. That's the Stoic way. That's divine order. That's how true rebuilding happens. Not around you, but within you. You made it through the flames. You walked through betrayal, loss, and silence, and came out the other side. Maybe scarred, yes. but not broken. The marks you carry aren't proof of weakness. They're proof that you were chosen to survive what would have destroyed others. While they played their games, you were learning truth. While they chased attention, you were building endurance. While they disappeared, you were stepping into your purpose. That's freedom, not the kind the world praises, but the kind born only after fire. Understand this: the fire was never meant to destroy you. It came to reveal what could not be burned: your faith, your discipline, your quiet resilience. Everything false turned to ash, but what was real, it remained. Now you stand lighter. Not because you lost something, but because destiny stripped away what never belonged. This is the moment of understanding. Destiny never punished you by taking them. It promoted you by clearing their space. It didn't take to hurt you, it took to make room for what would endure. It removed what drained you so it could prepare you for what would feed your soul. When you release what no longer fits, you make space for what is sacred. And when you surrender completely, when you stop clinging and start trusting, what's meant for you arrives. Effortlessly, naturally. That's not luck. That's alignment. Marcus Aurelius once said, "What stands in the way becomes the way." And that's exactly what your pain became. It turned into your path. It brought you home, to yourself, to peace, to purpose. Freedom isn't about everything falling neatly into place. It's about standing firm when everything falls apart. It's knowing that no betrayal can erase your value and no departure can cancel your destiny. Now you know, silence isn't emptiness, it's protection. Endings aren't failures, they're foundations. People leaving, that's not rejection, it's redirection. You've stopped reacting to the chaos around you. You've learned to respond from the calm within you. You're no longer desperate for connection, you're content in solitude. And this is what spiritual maturity feels like. Peace that doesn't need proof. So when the same people who left begin to watch you rise, don't seek revenge, don't explain, don't shout, just smile. Because your growth speaks louder than any defense. Your peace is the justice they can't escape, and your calm silence, it's destiny's echo of balance. You owe no explanations. You have nothing left to prove. You already proved everything by surviving. They thought their absence would undo you. Instead, it awakened you. They expected your collapse. You rebuilt. And now, the same fire that once consumed you, it's the light guiding your way. So don't look back with bitterness. Don't curse the burning. Thank it, because it revealed what was real. It burned away what was false. And it introduced you to someone remarkable, yourself. The truth is, you never really lost anything. You only released what was never meant to stay. And now, you are free. Not the shallow freedom the world describes, but the kind the soul understands. Free from grasping, free from illusion, free from needing what was never destined for you. This is your peace, this is your power. This is the reward you earned by walking through fire and refusing to burn. Now you see it. The devastation was never destruction. It was protection. What felt like abandonment was actually redirection. And what shattered you wasn't meant to ruin you, it was meant to wake you up. Destiny saw everything you couldn't. It saw the hands that pretended to hold you, but were secretly harming you. It saw the words that sounded tender, but carried poison. It saw the love that looked loyal, but was built on deceit. So it stepped in. It took away what you refused to release, because it knew that if it didn't, you'd be dragged down with it. And yes, it hurt. It tore through your heart like fire. But that breaking, that stillness, that empty space, it became the birthplace of your strength. And now you rise, You no longer beg for peace, you are peace. You no longer chase love, you radiate it. You no longer seek clarity, you live inside it. Because what was taken was temporary, but what destiny gave you in return, that's eternal. So stop replaying the past. It's done its work. You're stepping into something new now, a chapter that doesn't require pain to prove your power. You've already healed. Now, it's time to live healed. This version of you, the calm, grounded, steady version, is the one destiny has been trying to reveal all along. You didn't lose them. You found yourself. And that is the real miracle. If these words stirred something deep inside you, pause, take a breath, and remind yourself, destiny didn't remove them to harm me. Destiny removed them to heal me. If you're ready to stop questioning the loss and start walking in quiet strength, you're not alone. This path, where pain turns into wisdom, silence transforms into power, and heartbreak evolves into purpose, this is the path of alignment. So if you've been walking this road, seeking truth, creating peace, embracing your strength, you've already begun the transformation. This is where the fire becomes freedom, where we don't just survive, we rise, where we stop clinging and start becoming. Because remember, destiny never removes to break you, it removes to rebuild you, and your story is only just beginning.